Welcome everyone. My name's Todd Osborne. I'm superintendent of the Chippewa Local Schools, and I'm here with another edition of Chipp Talks. Today we're going to hear from Jodie Hughes, who's our Director of Literacy for the district, but one of her main responsibilities is state testing, and we're going to talk to her about the importance of state testing today. Hi Jodie, welcome to Chipp Talks. It's your first edition. I'd like to start off, why is state testing so important?
State testing is important for a couple of reasons. It measures where our students are currently at the end of a grade level. It measures them in a standards-based way. It aligns to the state standards and the content for which those students have been a part of all year long. And it helps just give us a snapshot. The state uses this information to compare our district with other local districts and how our students are measuring up. We look at this information from a district perspective to provide information of where our students are at and then the effectiveness of the instruction throughout that school year. So again, just a snapshot, just a glimpse, but that's where the state uses this information.
Got it. So if we're using it to look at students as to where they are as a snapshot and where they're at that particular test, does every student participate in state testing, or is it just particular students?
So from a state level, grades 3 through 8 participate in our assessments that are next gen assessments. They are content specific for the grade level that the student is in. So from 3 to 8, they participate in math, ELA, and science tests. Science is only grades 5 and 8. And then from grades 9 through 12, we have our end of course exams. And those are content specific as well. But they're not specific to a grade level. They're specific to a content. So students starting in 7th grade can be on an advanced track placement and might be participating in a high school math or science course. And so they'll take those end of course exams. These end of course exams are required for grad credits. So once they're in those high school content courses, regardless of a grade level, they are participating in those end of course exams. And there are certain ones that must be taken and passed in order for graduation required credits. And those would incorporate our ELA 2 and Algebra 1 tests.
Excellent. When does state testing occur?
So state testing occurs in 2 windows. We have a fall window, which is for some of our reassessments or retakes. Some of our students that may have taken a partial course in the spring and are finishing it then in the fall, they'll take it during the fall window. Otherwise, all testing is occurring in the spring. So typically from March through May, there are windows of time. ELA is within one window, and then science, social studies, and math is within another window.
So we have this testing window then coming up in the spring. Do our teachers teach to the test, or do we try to just ensure our kids know particular content information?
So I'm glad you asked this. Our teachers are teaching the state level standards. They are following a curriculum. Our curriculum aligns to those state standards. Our ELA curriculum is now shifting to aligning to the science of reading. But all of our state standards are what our teachers are teaching. That is what they're checking for effectiveness and mastery of with our students. So the state test also aligns to those same standards. We are providing our students with test-taking skills while practicing mastering those standards, but we are not teaching to the test. We are teaching the Ohio State standards for our students.
Awesome. So since all of our kids are going to be tested in some format, so now we're going to get ready. Can parents and families help these kids out as they get prepped for these tests?
Most certainly. We want parents and families to be helping out while we're preparing for these tests. We know that it takes a village to raise a child. So we're not just learning at school, we're not just instructing at school, we're not just supporting at school, we're supporting in all aspects. So I would highly advocate for families to visit the TIDE or Cambium resource. It is linked within this video, and it will allow for practice tests that parents can look at with their child at home. It has old released items from state tests stemming back to about 2015. So any content area you'd like to look at, those tests are available. It will be eye-opening for some families to see what it is that is expected of their child to be able to do on these state tests, both from a written expression perspective, answering multiple choice questions, part A, part B, and just looking at the high level of vocabulary that is utilized within the text passages. Our students really are held to high standards, And we need to be proud of ourselves because we have achieved far greater than the state average over time.
God, fantastic. So last question that I'm going to ask here is, teachers, are they aware of their student scores?
So the teachers are made aware of their student scores. We do get the score reports back. Now that all of the testing is done online, the data is reported back much quicker than in years past. So science, math, and social studies, we have those prior to the end of the school year as a preliminary release of data. Those are shared with our teachers, and then the ELA scores do come out in June. All of this data is very much analyzed from a district perspective with staff, with building administrators, to break down and determine where are there gaps perhaps in any student's learning. Where do we want to continue to grow our students? Our vision as a district is not for students to pass the test. Our vision is for mastery and growth, individual growth for every single student.
That's fantastic. So we analyze the data. Just want to make sure your superintendent does allow you to get supplemental materials if we do find gaps?
100%. So right now, the state of Ohio has required some new purchasing of ELA programming and curriculum that aligns to the science of reading. We are in the process of finding that comprehensive program that will enhance our vocabulary, our language acquisition and comprehension, as well as reading comprehension. What we do currently have in place is a phonics program and curriculum, as well as a phonemic and phonological awareness. So we're going to marry those two once we adopt a new program. We have also looked at and provided additional math supports and new curricular materials from K to 5 that will help maybe bridge some gaps that we were seeing, as well as prepare our students for our CPM model that begins in 6th grade and then goes into our college prep maths throughout the high school years. We are definitely looking at any gaps, holes, wherever we see areas of weakness that we can then create strengths for our students. So supplemental materials are always looked at and reviewed as long as they meet the requirements for efficiency and efficacy of the program.
Fantastic. Anything you'd like to share with the people that are listening today about state testing, the importance of it, or why we do it?
So I would like to reiterate, state testing is a glimpse, it's a snapshot. It is a quick measure of where our students are at and the effectiveness of our teachers. It is not a one-size-fits-all or an end game assessment. It is just one piece of the puzzle. We have ongoing assessments and progress monitoring throughout the year that help us determine where our students are at prior to the end of the year. This is a culmination of the course material for the grade level that they're in. So do not stress over testing. I would prioritize good instruction and good healthy habits at home, preparing for instruction every day, not just for state testing. We need to get our children prepared just for instruction and coming to school day in and day out.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Hughes. It's been very informative, and I appreciate you giving us some time to meet with us today and talk about state testing.
Thank you. Happy to do so.